Very good morning to my dear students, and I hope all of you are doing good and well and keeping up your studies, doing your assignment and your homework properly. And today we are going to start with a new topic, that is administration of the kingdoms and also about Prashastis. See, the main agenda of learning this two topic is to know about how administration used to run in the kingdoms in 7th and 12th centuries, and how things were taking place, and how tax were collected. And nextly we will learn about Prashastis. Already we have studied Prashastis in class 6. About We have learned about Samudragupta's Prashasti. Right, in Prashastis mostly the good things were being written for the kings. And today also we'll be learning about more little things about Prashastis, right? So let's begin our class.
So students, we are starting our class with the topic administration in the kingdom. Right, in our previous class, we learned about how new dynasties were formed and how Samantas or subordinates, they actually acquired a lot of power. Right, they were also recognized by the kings, and there were few kingdoms which were being taken away by the Samantas or subordinates, and they threw away the overlords, right? So next we are going to study about administration in the kingdom. We are in this particular topic, we are going to learn about why we need to study about the administration in a kingdom. It will let us know how the things were taking place in administration in a kingdom, how tax were collected, from whom it was collected, what with that tax, what has been done by the kings, right? So let's begin. So many of this, right, for example, from 7th to 12th century, what happened? This king adopted a high sounded titles known as Maharaja Adhiraja, right, which is known as Great King, Overlord of the King. Tribhuvana Chakravartin, which is known as Lord of the Three Worlds, right? So such titles were being adopted by the kings like Maharaja Adhiraja or Tribhuvana Chakravartin, which is known as the Lord of the Three Worlds. But in spite of getting or claims or proclaiming such titles, they did not have all the powers by themselves. Now let us see what happens. So what happened, in spite of such claims, they often shared the powers with Samantas as well as with associations of peasants, traders and Brahmins. For example, this is the king, and along with them they shared the power with Samantas, which are known as subordinates. They share the power with peasants, they share the power with traders and also the Brahmins. Although they have got the title of Maharaja Adhiraja, or we can say Chakravardin or Tribhuvana, but they don't have the power all together by themselves, but rather their power was actually distributed or shared with these four categories, that is Samantas, peasants, traders and Brahmanas, right? So in each of the state resources, now when we say resources here, we are talking about the tax, right? You know, right, what is tax? So in each of the states, resources were obtained from the producers, that is, so the resources are obtained from peasants, then cattle keepers, people who keeps cattle, or they do commercial farming also for cattle, then artisans who used to make small things with clothes or any weaving or basket making, such kind of things, okay, were also asked, they were actually asked to give resources, or we can say tax, right? Or if they give them, they were compelled to surrender part of what they produce. For example, a cattle keeper has to give the sum of amount or some cattle to the kings, right? As a what to say, as a payment or tax. Sometimes these were claimed as rent. Why it was called as rent? Because according to king, the land was of his, like it belongs to king, and the farmers or the peasants, they are actually asked to do the farming or agriculture out there. So in a way they have to pay some rent for the land that they are using it. Okay, so revenue was also collected from the traders. So these are the sources from where tax was collected. It was collected from peasants, cattle keepers, artisans, then people who did farming or the farmers, and also the traders. So these resources were used to finance establishment. So in this paragraph, we will learn with the tax or with the resources what the king used to do, right? So the king as well, they use it for establishment of the kingdom, then construction of temples and forts. So when they used to go for war, what happens? They used to fight with the enemies, and when they won the war, what they did, they, with the help of plunder, they used to acquire all the wealth of that particular kingdom which they have defeated, and also they collected land. For example, this is the root, this is the land, right? It is the kingdom, and from this kingdom, this routes were being passed, or trade routes were being there. So whoever goes from this route, the traders or the travelers, they used to collect money from the traders or the travelers, right? And the functionaries for collecting revenue were generally recruited from influential families. Now, these sources were collected by the influential families, and positions were often hereditary. For example, if the father was a tax collector, his son, after his death, his son will become the tax collector. After the son death, his grandson will become the tax collector. So in such a way, the things were being carried out in the administration of the kingdoms, right? So this was true about the army as well. Even in army, the same thing goes on, right? So in many cases, close relatives of the king held this position. So basically, for the collection of taxes or any other responsibilities in the kingdom, mostly it was given to the relatives which was closely related to the kings. So in administration of the kingdom, we learned about how they collected taxes, and how the power were being shared between the kings, the samantas, the traders, the peasants, right? And also they collected taxes from cattle keepers, then peasants, artisans. Also they asked rent for from the farmers who did agriculture in their land, and also they collected the taxes in one more way. When they used to defeat the king of the other kingdoms, they used to plunder all the wealth from there, and lastly they used to collect taxes from the trade routes, from where people or the traders used to travel if the trade route passes through a particular kingdom, right? And these taxes were collected by the influential families who with a very hereditary customs, and these taxes were collected mostly by the people who are closely related to the king, right? So in Prashasti, next topic we are going to learn about Prashastis and land grants, okay? So Prashastis were, I guess in class 6 you have learned about Prashastis, where about the victories of the king, about their personalities, about their war, what they have done, everything was being portrayed, right? So Prashastis contain details that may not be literally true, but they tell us how rulers wanted to depict themselves as valiant. Valiant means how courageous they were. Victorious warriors, like how many victories they have won and how they fought the battle, everything was being portrayed in the Prashastis. For example, these were composed by learned Brahmanas who occasionally help in the administration. So along with other influential families from the hereditary of the king who were the close relatives, along with them even Brahmins help in the administration process by writing Prashastis about the kings, about their courage or determination, or we can say valiant. Another meaning of valiant is courage or determination. Then victorious warriors, like how much victory they won, what war they have conquered, how much area they have conquered. Everything was written by the Brahmanas who also help in them who also help them in the administration. So dear students, you can see here that this is an example of Prashasti. This is how Prashastis were written. So here's an example. You can see here. Here's a sample. You can see how Prashastis are being described, right? So the achievement of Nagabhatta. Many rulers describe their achievement in Prashastis. You read about the Prashastis of the Gupta ruler Samudragupta last year. One Prashastis written in Sanskrit and found in Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh, describes the exploit of Nagabrata Pratihara king as follows. So this is how Prashastis are being written. The king of Andhra, Saidhava, Sindh, Vidarbha, part of Maharashtra, and Kalinga, part of Orissa, fell before him even as he was a prince. He won a victory over Chakrayuddha, the ruler of Kannauj. He defeated the king of Vanga, part of Bengal, Anarta, part of Gujarat, Malava, part of Madhya Pradesh, Kirata, forest people, Turushka, Turks, Vatsa, Matsya, both kingdoms in North India. So this is how Prashastis are being described, right? So here is example where how Prashastis are being written. Okay. So kings often rewarded Brahmanas by grants of land. These were recorded on copper plates which were given to those who received the land, right? And these Prashastis were mostly written in copper plates, right? And because Brahman used to do a lot about for the kingdoms, for the kings, they used to write Prashastis for the kings, so they were rewarded by the grants of land. Okay, they were rewarded the land who provide them Prashastis written on copper plates. So this is a set of copper plates recording. You can see here. Copper plates are recording a grant of land made by a ruler in the 9th century. Written partly in Sanskrit and partly in Tamil. The ring holding the plate together is secured with the royal seal to indicate that this is an authenticate document. This is how the document is being sealed with the help of ring holding the plate. So this is what about we have learned about the Prashastis. So let's see what's given is with the land. So this is the part of the Tamil section of a land grant given by the Cholas. We have demarcated the boundaries of the land by making earthen embankments as well as by planting thorny bushes. This is what the land contained: fruit-bearing trees, waterland, gardens and orchards, trees, wells, open spaces, pasture land, a village, antehills, platforms, canals, ditches, rivers, silt-laden land, tanks, granaries, fish pond, beehives, and deep lakes. He who received the land can collect taxes from it. He can collect the taxes imposed by judicial officers as fines. The tax on betel leaves, that on woven cloth, as well as on vehicles. He can build large rooms with upper stories. So this is, you can read further by yourself. So this is how land was granted by the king to the Brahmins, and these were the facilities given by the king to the Brahmins who provide them with Prashastis, right? So unusual for the 12th century was a long Sanskrit poem containing the history of kings who ruled over Kashmir. It was composed by an author named Kalhana. So there was a Prashasti containing about the history of kings who ruled over Kashmir. So this Prashasti was written by the author name known as Kalhana. He used a variety of sources including inscriptions, documents, eyewitness accounts and earlier histories to write his account. Unlike the writers of Prashastis, he was often critical about rulers and their policies. Although Brahmins, what they used to do, they used to, write about the praises. Basically, they used to write the good things about the kings. But the writer of the Prashastis, they were a little bit critical that whether the king actually did all the good things for his people or not. So they were very critical about it, mainly the authors, right? So today we have learned about how the administration works in the kingdom and also about the Prashastis. Thank you for today's class. I am giving you the assignment shortly.